What is going on? I want to thank you for coming to Vape with the Viking. So today what we have for you is an RTA. Been on it for just a little bit, and I know we have one of the TRV crew family out there is like, hey, I got one. I need help. Where's the review? So for all of you, but specifically, you know who you are, what we're going to look at today is a bigger tank. That is the Arbiter 28mm RTA, and of course that's from OXVA, OXVA, OXVA. I think that's how you pronounce it. I usually stumble and end up just OXVA. So, but I know that there was some controversy over this tank. We're going to talk about that real quickly, a little bit and dive down, and probably afterwards when I give you the pros and the cons of this thing. But what we're vaping it on today, of course, is the GAR from Vape. It's one that I didn't get a review out because I was looking for this specifically for work. I'm very hard on mods. So, and I was always taking my Boxer LiPo to work with my bigger tanks, and it was crushing me on the inside, watching it get all dirty and destroyed. Not saying that, hey, I don't care about this one, but the reason why actually I was given this by one of you is dual 21700, because my builds, all my 18650 duals would just die very quickly at work. So this was a really handy kind of not really indestructible, but definitely heavier duty dual 21700 mod. So it works perfectly for like most of my bigger tanks, except for, you know, like the Ragnar. That's way bigger. So very good mod. Sorry, I didn't do a review on it. I'll just tell you, if you need a hardy dual 21700, this one's a good one to get, and it matches that nice red on that Arbiter, which thank you to Jen for sending me this. I had purchased one, couldn't find the red. She found the red, and she was like, hey, now you're gonna match. And she's right, it matched. But what we're running in it today is some Lobotomy by Darkstar, and of course Team Asylum, one of my all-day, everyday vapes by the gallon. So show you a little bit of what it can do here. So yeah, this is where I'm like, it's great, or oh, it's good. I'm not going to tell you. We're going to talk about that later. So of course, Vape Advocacy, Viking's Advocacy moment. Been real kind of quiet on that end because there's some things that has happened to us, the vape mail ban, stuff like that. So I know advocacy is a big important thing, but right now, at least for myself, and I know other channels and other TRV fam, our biggest thing is right now is, what I could tell you for an advocacy point is now we need to kind of maybe switch gears a little bit. Instead of advocacy, we need to make sure that we're helping out as well as advocating, but we need to make sure we're taking care of our friends, our family, our vape family, and try to help that no one either goes back to cigarettes or does something unsafe. So my advocacy moment is make sure you're helping your fam, whether it's TRV fam, Bob's Vapor fam, doesn't matter. Any of your friends and people you know really well, definitely help take care of them in this time of need, and hopefully this stuff will get figured out soon. So, and of course, ADHD awareness. Not going to go into that huge rant. I do it every show Friday night with a Spring TRV crew. I'm just going to tell you right now, I love the hashtag they made up for me a while ago. Hashtag beautiful, not broken. I'll just kind of sum that one up real quick. You should know what that is by now. If you don't, I do a lot of advocacy on that disorder. But I'm ready. Are you ready? Yeah, I think we're ready. Let's go and drop the hammer on the Arbiter. All right, so what I got for you today is an RTA by OXVA. It's the Arbiter 28mm RTA. And I got this pointed out. I didn't even think about this. If you are familiar with Halo at all, that's kind of where they got this. It's a little Arbiter from the Halo games. On the front, you're going to have your color configuration, capacity. It's leak-proof, 100% bottom airflow. That's kind of misleading. It's top airflow, but yeah, it's still going to go through the bottom, but it's still top. So that's where the leak-proof comes into. And on the side, you have designed by Justin, and a little bit of barely no branding there. And then on the backside, you're going to have your contents and your scratch and check, UPC, all that kind of good stuff. Contents, I think I already said, but also all their social media stuff is right here as well. And I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've already built and tested one. This is one that I actually got from Jen, which is part of our TRV crew family. She found the nice black and red one, so that matches really well on a lot of my mods. But I actually took and built this with triple C's coils, which, you know, I like to do a lot of reviews. Whatever it comes with in it, I want to use for you guys, because that's probably primarily what you're going to use. You're not always going to have like triple C's on hand, but definitely give him a shout. So that's already been built and been used, but we're going to go ahead and look at this one because I purchased this one, and we'll go through that. All right, box, pretty plain, just their logo or their letters, and that's it. Then on the inside, you're going to get a little social media card and a chance to win a free gift if you go onto their stuff. And then, of course, all the instructions here, but we'll be going over them without that. All right, so on the inside, of course, you're going to get your device. You are going to get a straight glass, which the straight glass is going to give you a 4 mil capacity, where the bubble is going to be 6. Then on the bottom of the box, you're just going to have that. We're just going to have your silica gel, and then all your accessories here. One bag is going to be some Ni80 coils. They're just a fused Clapton, looks like triple core fused Claptons, and a little bit of cotton. And they say roughly about 0.4, which looking at these guys, they're meaning probably 0.4 per. So when you put these in dual, it's going to be almost roughly about a 0.2. Then you're going to get your peripheral bag. You're going to have your 810 to 510 adapter, all your O-rings. You got some red ones, you got some clear ones, some deck grub screws, your Allen key, and then basically a tool to help you if you need to turn off the top to get the top off there. All right, so the device itself, sorry for the heater noise, guys. It's cold. It's cold in the Midwest. They do have the pre-installed red O-rings here, so if you want to, you can swap them out with the clear ones if you want to. And up top, you do have this drip tip here, which is just a regular 810 drip tip. This one's actually not bad. I've been using this on the red one, and I tend to swap these out, but I've kept that on there. Top fill is pretty darn easy too. It's a kind of quarter turn situation. You got some clear ones. You have a clear O-ring up there, or white, whatever you want to call it. You see the little notches here. That's going to lock into this here. All right, and one thing I did notice on the top fill, which is really nice, kind of like a couple different atomizers I can think of, not names off the top of my head, except for maybe the Kylan series, how it kind of swoops in there. That makes it so that even if you tend to overfill a little bit, it's not going to go down your chimney, so that's pretty neat here. Then you have your dual-sided airflow control here, and it's just close and lock, or open and lock, and of course any adjustments in between. At the bottom you do have Arbiter, designed by OXVA, and then this is, I don't know, this is weird as a serial number. It looks like possibly this is its manufacture date. I guess one way we could take a look at the red one here and compare the two. So yeah, looks like this one was made in November 25th, and this one was made December 6th. So instead of individual serial numbers, I think they're just giving you batch dates, which, that could be either bad or good. All right, and like I said, you do have that 6 mil capacity bubble tape pre-installed. You do have their kind of like little logo here for that. On the chimney itself, you got Arbiter, and then again you have that logo or picture of the Arbiter from the game series. And you do have, it's a little hard to see on the black one here, or gunmetal, and you do have OXVA right there at the bottom of the knurling. It's kind of a neat way to kind of hide some branding in there. And you do have a hybrid safe 510 pin right there. You got the little bit of the peak hanging out past the threads, and then of course then the pin itself is beyond the threads, which is really good. Now before we get into the deck, we'll just set that off to the side because I know that there's lots of issues with that. We'll talk about that in just a second here. So of course glass, if you ever want to take it off, just kind of usually pop it with one finger, it comes right off. You'll see how the airflow is actually through here. We'll come down through there and then of course into the deck. On the inside, you're going to see just a kind of I would almost say plain Jane, but not really plain Jane as much, but a regular dome situation. Everything looks nice and clean. I did not clean this one yet because luckily I had two at this time, so I could do these different things. Normally I ultrasonic everything before I review it because I build it and use it right away. I did that with the red one. This one has not been cleaned. As you can see, nothing gross in there, nothing bad. It's all nice and pretty well clean. I wouldn't even say pretty well clean. It's more of a dull finish, so everything looks good in there. And then one thing that's going to be in there you're going to see is this little guy. This is what's going to make it a little bit different when we go into the deck, because you're going to see something in the deck that I know people have kind of stirred controversy over. But so if you've seen this deck before, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen something like this before, it's not going to make any difference to you. But I know there's a lot of people say this looks like the Bulk or BTFC by Fagan. It does really resemble it. It's, in my opinion, it's a little bit wider, and the airflow is definitely different. But overall, for the ease of when we put the coils in and how they clip and all that, it's pretty close. I know a lot of people are saying it's a direct clone. Even if you look at just the airflow and stuff, it is definitely not a direct clone. It's very similar. But here's where, because the Bulk, in my opinion, was a very good RTA, especially for its size. The only problem with it is I like to run juices that can get hotter, or even those series coils in there, because of the size of it. It was just very open. Now with this one, what they've done, which I thought was kind of ingenious, you have this basically chimney reducer. So you actually pop this into the top. That's where that little silicone O-ring's for. It goes into the top of the chimney, so you don't have to play around with this portion of it. But to make it so it's easier to see, I popped it out, and all it does is just go right over it. So just like that. Now, some might not like that because now it has kind of reduced what kind of build you can throw in there. But it definitely, so far from what I'm telling you, it could really help flavor. There's a lot of devices I use that have, like, the Asgard series of RDAs. I use those really well because they already have this in like Ultim built in, and some of the Steam Crate products have their chimneys and everything set, so there's kind of a built-in chimney reducer into the device itself, and that's what this does, and that really helps with the flavor. So that's a very interesting little twist they put on there. But you do have to be mindful of what size coils. You can't do like the Bulk and throw huge, super huge coils in there. Now, one thing I was going to show, because like I said, we are going to throw the stock coils in there, and I mean, if you see, these guys are, kind of a little bit little. They're smaller. They're, triple core fused Clapton, so they're kind of a small mass type of wire. Now, the red one I've been using for now a couple weeks. These are Corey's or Triple C's aliens right here, some mech aliens, and this is a couple weeks on some Dark Star juice to tell you kind of how clean that can actually be. So still looking pretty decent. Just need to scrape them a little bit and heat them up, and those should be good to go. But that is a 3mm inner diameter, what he calls his mech aliens. So they're pretty low ohm, so they're kind of a chunky coil. So for that to fit in there, that's probably about the max I would throw in there. Mainly because when you take and throw that on there, again, kind of hard to see because it covers it all, but we're getting very close to touching basically what you would call a chimney. So that's probably 3mm definitely is the biggest I'd go if you're running it in dual. You could always run it in a single configuration, but that's probably about the biggest you'd want to go. Now keep going on the deck. One you'll see, of course, here's your negative side, and this is the peak insulator, which has something on it. I don't know what it is. It won't come off, so it's something in the peak, I think. But so you have your positive side on here. So you would run just like on the other deck, a set of coils, or one coil here, one coil here. Or if you wanted to do a single coil setup with a big like 4mm, you'd put one leg here, and then of course like one leg here, or vice versa, so on and so forth. So, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and throw those in, the stock ones in there. But also with the airflow, so what's gonna happen is it's gonna travel where you saw through the top, and it's gonna come in here, and it's really shiny, so it's kind of hard to see, but it basically is gonna direct your airflow to come up and essentially under the coils. So where I have them on here, they're getting both a little bit of under coil and just a touch, if you draw hard enough, a little bit on the side, but mostly it's going to be a lot of under coil coming through. So if you get something smaller in there, you could possibly get some under and a little bit of side coil airflow on those. Okay, and one thing I want to show before I do the whole music fast forward thing, and you won't be able to hear or see what I'm saying, is we'll take and show you how easy it is, if you've never tried like the Bulk or anything like that, how to put a coil in there. You don't have to pre-measure if you don't want to. It's as easy as unscrewing those grub screws and kind of putting your coil wherever you want. What I did is I just kind of halfway laid it right there, because you are going to be able to manipulate the coil a little bit. Tighten them down a touch, and then you're going to clip your coils. And all I did is just pull it out like that, give it a snip, give it another pull, snip, and that's it. And of course, you want to take and go in and move your coil where you want it to, so on and so forth. But that's really as easy for building as you can really get. Just take them, put them through there, and put it where you want it, tighten them down, and then clip them off. Now, one thing I would do to follow up if you can, like here, after we've tightened it down and moved a little bit, they're not completely flush. You do want to be behind the threads, of course. So if you want to, you can kind of go in there and feel around a little bit, do a little bit more clipping there. But now we are way behind those guys there. So again, you want to get super into it, you can go in there and get them as far as you want to. But as long as you're behind here, you're good, because this is behind the threads, and so therefore it's not going to touch the chimney when you put it down. So, but yeah, all right. So let's get this rolling. Yeah. So we're back up with the Arbiter big old 28 millimeter RTA by OXVA. OXVA. Still don't know if I'm saying it right. So real quick out there, I know they have several different colors out there. Price range, found it anywhere from $30 to $40, just depending on where you go. I know since a lot of US vapors right now are having to resort to brick and mortar stores, I'm not sure what the brick and mortar retail on this would be, or even if your brick and mortar will have it, because OXVA has been one of those companies that it's not as big. Like you go to any vape store, you're going to see Aspire stuff, and you're going to see, you know, smoke stuff. You know, OXVA, I don't know how regionally available they are. There are still a couple sites in the US that you can buy products from us, and they're doing it right. So they have all the paperwork, they can ship it to you. They are charging the adult confirmation, because you do have to have someone 21 or over sign for it and all that. So there are some resources out there, so we're not completely in a desert. We just feel deserted. Hey. That's exactly where I picked up mine, was a site that is doing it legal, has all their ducks in a row. And so obtained legally, let's put it that way. There's really nothing illegal about that. Gonna get kicked for that one, but oh well. So what do I think about it? I mean, is this any good? I'm gonna tell you, it is good. Pros and cons. So what we'll do is we'll go over all the pros. Pros. You can fit a decent array of coils in here, like you saw in the dive down. It does have that chamber condenser or chamber reducer in there, So it's not like you can fit some huge monstrous coils in there, but you could still fit probably a kind of a tamer series build in there. So like literally probably the only thing I would suggest against, of course, is little tiny MPL coils. So, but other than that, the deck is very versatile. It can take a lot of different coils, up to the bigger, chunkier, to just some plain Jane fused Claptons. The other pro is kind of like where we talked a little bit on the dive down about, is kind of like the bulk or BTFC-esque type of ways that the legs go through. It's super easy to build. Good example, I was showing a little bit of this dive down to one of the TRV fam that was having some issues with coil placement and wicking. Sorry, they got a sneak peek. But just that little section. So, and as we're, flying through there real quick, I was like, coil placement, because I couldn't remember off the top of my head. It's super, super easy. Like it's on the dive down. You just literally put the coils through to cut. You just tighten them down, and you almost never have to touch them. You straighten them out, but no up and down. So it's very, very easy to build. Legs clip off easy, and it's recessed enough that even if you don't get it 100% flush, you're still going to be good. Wicking, again, is pretty much easy as can be. Since it is a top airflow, it is more forgiving. So if you do get a little thin, you're not going to dump juice out. You might get a little gurgle every once in a while, but nothing detrimental to your hands or mod. The draw on it, I think, is really, really good. Where I usually have it set at, and I got a pretty rowdy build is what I keep in here, is I have that airflow is just like, I don't know, I would say a quarter of the way closed off. I mean, just a smidge closed off there. And I've sometimes dialed it down to like halfway. Full open would be pretty good if you're running into series, which I haven't. I just don't really do series in tanks. I don't know why. That's just a thing with me. That's just a me thing. It's a mad Viking thing. Anyway, it's not too huge. It's got some branding on it, but it's nothing over the top. Like I said, it does really, really good. It's not the best flavor RTA I have, and it's because top airflow is never going to be, in my opinion, as good if you get one of those side or bottom type of airflows like the Ragnar, the Violator, stuff like that. Those are they're awesome, and it's just because they don't have to travel so much airflow to it. Now, con-wise, what I will say, well, excuse me, let me get back to one more pro I liked. A lot of tanks, when you get a bubble glass in there, the reason why a lot of people don't use them is because they're so big and it just looks so odd. This one, that's the bubble tank, and it's barely a bit bigger. So I really like that. Even the drip tip is comfortable. It's a stock one. But the con that I would definitely have is this, and let's see if it'll pick it up on camera, is all that paint chipping. It is really bad at paint chipping, and I've talked to others about it, and it is definitely not like a quality powder coat or even anodization or something like that. You can tell it's just a quick spray off an assembly line of color, because it chips very easily. It almost starts rubbing, like just by moving your AFC, you'll actually get a little bit of discoloration. Like I got one part here that's nice and glossy red, and one part that's kind of a dull red, and that's from where my finger always hits to adjust the airflow. So the finish quality would be, I would say, a con. It doesn't affect the way it performs. It's just a look thing. So if you're one of those type of vapors that, I don't care how it looks, it could be crazy colors, look like weird stuff, I don't care, if it performs well. So if you're one of those type of vapors, grab one. It's awesome because it does perform really well. But if you are one that definitely likes performance but also likes it to be aesthetically pleasing, or essentially higher quality, you might not like this, or don't get any of the metallic colors, because the gunmetal one I had that I did send off to a lucky viewer had no issues with that whatsoever. So I would just say be careful on the metallic anodized look colors. That paint comes off real easy. But that is it. I mean, that is about the only thing I could really go off on it about, because I even showed two different coils, triple C's coils, which are in here, and then just the stock ones, and it still did really well on the stock ones. So yeah, that's saying something if the stock coils and a handmade coil makes it perform roughly about the same. Of course, difference is the stock coils, a heavy dessert in here, didn't do that well, but that's the coils. That's not the device. So, but yeah, you know, 30, 40 bucks. It's definitely one to pick up if you can use a 28 millimeter RTA. So I want to say, for the most part, you know, OXVA, great job. So I think you did a really good job. Might want to look at your paint a little bit, but other than that, good job. And I mean, stock drip tip. That almost never happens. So, again, got a rowdy build. I do have running lobotomy, so I'm running right at 100 watts because it is more of a fruit. We'll do a couple of vapes on here and see how it keeps up. Yeah, it's lobotomy too. That helps too. It's lobotomy. But I do know how the notes are supposed to come through. Coming through really well. Even on a chain like that, it doesn't even really get muted till almost at the very end of that third with a real quick chain. So the wicking does keep up, as long as you're just not bam. But yeah, so definitely an RTA if you can use the size. And like I said, of course, don't worry about the metallic finishes. So, but that is all I got today for the Arbiter RTA. Just want to thank each and every one of you yet again for coming to Vape with a Viking. I'll check you later.